Okay, so now we're going back to Pasuk Yud Aleph, Perek He, Pasuk Yud Aleph. Okay, and we are going to start learning the definition and the definition, really, okay, of Akadosh Baruch Hu according to the Malbim, right? Obviously, by Shlomo HaMelech, but according to the Malbim. Until now, we have learned the Pirush of the Gaon, and the Gaon basically addressed the structure of what he calls the Koma Ha'ilyon, the lateral structure of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in creation, and how he reveals himself in the creation. We'll see that the Malbim follows along those steps, because obviously we're talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but with a little bit of a different flavor, which I think is a more with a personal touch and a more realistic touch. The Gaon is more Kabbalistic and more spiritual, but we will see that the Malbim brings it to a different dimension. Okay, so we're Pasuk Yud Aleph. Rosho ketempaz, right? Kevutzotav taltalim shehorot ka'orem. His head is made of the finest gold, right? Of pure gold. Ketempaz. Kevutzotav taltalim. His hair are all curly, right? His hair are all curly. His locks are curly. Shehorot, and they're black like the crown. So the Malbim starts by saying that this is the Shlomo HaMelech is addressing the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the point of creation. Rosho means his mahshava, his thoughts, his essence, right? The root of his thoughts. And his ratzon and his will that really nobody knows. We cannot get to the root of Hashem's thoughts and will, because that would allow us, if we could, that would make us understand how more than just how he behaves, but what his thought process is. And if you understand and you can identify and anticipate Hashem's behavior, so he becomes predictable. If he's predictable, he cannot be God. Good? It's like going back.
Predictable, he's not what?
If he cannot be God. The definition of Hashem cannot be someone that's predictable. Well, okay. Now, we're going back, if you will, just to put things in perspective, we're going back to the reasoning why HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided that he wants to start creating. We don't have that answer. We can relate to the concept of creation, which is chesed, etc., right? Which is already a relationship between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, depending on how we view creation. But why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu decide to create and invent the concept of creation, to create and put a system in place? We cannot get there. And this is Rosho Ketempas. Yes.
This is something that always, since 20 years ago, it makes me dizzy. Like everything, the first question, the first why, we cannot understand.
Yeah, but this is if you cannot understand the first why, it's not the first why anymore.
No, it's still there.
Huh?
That you cannot understand it does not mean that it goes out. The question is there. Nobody even.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The Rambam says this is the question that you can no longer entertain. And this is where, if you will, the emunah consolidates itself and it reveals itself in a person. is when a person is humble enough to say, you know what, I don't know. I can't, it's okay.
Trust me.
Exactly. Andy, good. Stanley, we're okay. Rosho Ketempas, we're in the head right now. We're going to get to the arm soon. Rosho Ketempas. So the head of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the desires or the ratzon, the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is not graspable, but it's ketem paz, it's pure gold, meaning it's pure, it's condensed. The pure gold, it's condensed. The out is what you see outside is what you see inside. What you see, the formation of the gold inside and its purity inside the nugget and outside of the nugget is consistent. The mahshava, the thought of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a consistent thought that we cannot relate to, but that has a purpose. That's Rosho Ketem Paz. Kevutzotav taltalin, going back to the Malbim and his definition of hair, it is the first revelation of the steam that the mahshava, the thought creates, right? That allows the hair to grow. He says this is the first revelation of HaKadosh, of the understanding of Hashem in a purpose of creation, which is what? Which is, if you want, the constellation of the Sfirot, the constellation of the Merkava, the beginning, which we call the Mohin, the Keter, the Chokhmah and Binah, which is the beginning, if you will, of the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to reveal himself to us. And this is, if you will, this is what the hair is about, right? It's the revelation of a thought. The thought is in the head. The thought, the Malbim, stimulates an energy, right? And a chemistry reaction that makes the hair grow, right? So when the hair grows, it's a proof that the brain is working, right? So this is, if you will, the first point of revelation to the humanity, to creation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The taltalim, and they're curly, meaning milashon tilim, tile tilim. Where do we see this word tile tilim shel halacha? Is when Moshe Rabbeinu goes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's in Har Sinai. He goes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he sees that Rabbi Akiva is saying divrei Torah, halachot. He's revealing halachot from every crown that is on every letter of the Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why do you bring a guy like me to bring the Torah to Am Yisrael? Give it to a man like Rabbi Akiva, right? That what? He teaches, he reveals tilei tilim shel halachot. Okay, infinite amount of halachot from derivative of a crown that sits on a letter. And all the creation, okay, talim, and the hair, the hair which represents the machshava, which represents the beginning of the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is infinite. That's tilei tilim shel halachot, infinite amount of halachot. Kevutzotav taltalin, his hair are curly and are curly. Akavana, they are infinite and they spin. You don't. The will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not something that is straightforward to us, at least. The way it is represented to us, it's very curly, there a lot of movement, and it's like the hair. Yeah, you cannot predict, if you will, when it grows, how it's going to grow exactly when it's curly, right? When it's straight is straight. straight hair. But when you have curly hair, like an afro or something, it goes all the way. It goes all the way. The will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the machshavot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they can go in every direction. And it's extremely important to understand this, because the reason why we are subject and the victim of disappointment is because we tend to predict how HaKadosh Baruch Hu will interact with us based on our efforts or our actions. Shehorot ka'orev, and here he says something amazing. He says, even if you will try to understand the beginning, meaning the highest level of the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the hair, right, they are black like the crown. He says the color black is the color that absorbs all the light. Why is it black? Because it doesn't reflect any light. It doesn't reject a portion of the light. What gives a color a color? The physicality, right? The material absorbs the light and rejects certain variant of that light, and which gives it a color. The reason why black is because it absorbs all the light. This is why, by the way, black attracts heat, conducts heat, because it absorbs all the light. But it's black because it absorbs the light and doesn't reflect it, doesn't share it. He says this is the sodot of the Torah. The more the person elevates himself and gets to a high level of understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the more he becomes black, meaning he absorbs the light, hides it, he keeps it inside. So in the eyes, says the Malvim, you might confuse a person to a crowd, to a person that's arrogant, to a person that's selfish. But in reality, the reason why he's black, it's because he absorbs all this light and keeps it very, very, very private, very private. And this is the beginning, if you will, of the philosophy of a lot of one of the Ashkafa, which is what? The Ashkafa, the way of life of hiding from the eye of the people your personal connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning you can look simple in the eyes of people and may be confused to a crowd, but in reality, all you are doing is absorbing tremendous amount of light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? Like my mashgiach used to say, Rabbi David El-Aluf, he used to say that he heard from Rav Wolbe that if we could have put tefillin inside our stomach and not show it, we would have. But malasot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said we have to put it on the arm and show it. Yeah. So the less and obviously they're different. There's another school of thought that says no, you have to show because it motivates, it stimulates. You have to be out there. So we find these two stuff. But here is born the concept of what is called tzniut. When the concept of tzniut is born in the retaining of the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the beginning of the creation, so that only the people that are from within can actually connect to that light and absorb that light. Yeah, which is exactly the concept of tzniut in a couple, right? It's retaining the light, the beauty for the home, and not letting none of that attraction, which is the light, and exposure to the eyes of the streets, to the eyes of the foreigner. Yeah. So we see that, and by the way, just in parentheses, we see the beracha. What is the beracha and where the beracha of tzniut is coming from? because when there is the concept of tzniut, you basically emulate, okay, the muhin. You emulate the highest level of revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this is why the Shekhinah comes along with tzniut. And the less there is tzniut, and the lower you fall in the system, right? So depending on your behavior, you will tap in to a source of beracha, to a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu that results to beracha, that will define how much of HaKadosh Baruch Hu you will have in your life. Very, very big yesod. Clear? It's extremely important to understand that, because that gives the true value to what we call tzniut. Next pasuk. Einav, his eyes, keyonim al afikei mayim, are like the eyes of the dove that is on by the water course, right? The afikei mayim, rochatzot bechalav, and they bath in milk, yoshavot al millet, and they sit by the pool, the brimming pool. Says the Malbim, Einav is the beginning of the Hashgacha. After HaKadosh Baruch Hu has put in place his will, has put in place his machshava, his thoughts, has revealed his thoughts to be something that by definition is hidden, is tsanua. At that point come what is called the Hashgacha, the interaction with the creation. And this is Kivyachol, now the channeling of the Or Hashem, of the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu onto the Sefirot, right? It's now Chokhmah that starts influencing the system, Bina that starts influencing the system. Until now, we had the Keter with the Chokhmah Bina, which is hidden from inside as an essence, and now they start interacting, right? That's the Einayim. Okay, Keyonim al afikei mayim, and he says the water has a particularity. Okay, the particularity of the water is that when it's clear and it's clean, you can see yourself like a mirror. Right? He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashgiach, interacts with the creation, through creation, in a way that you can see him by looking at the creation, because the creation is a mirror effect of Hashem's hashgacha. So when what you see is what he wants you to see of him. So what does that mean? Kamuvad, it means that if you see beautiful things, if you see things in order, if you see challenges, if you see beautiful colors, if you see dark color, whatever it is, right? It will show you, if you have the proper eyes and you're looking the right way, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to see of him. It's a tremendous thought. Tremendous thought. You know, it's we find ourselves sometimes in places or in situations where we're astonished by its beauty, okay, by the scenery, or sometimes no. Sometimes there's challenges. Sometimes you see things dark. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing you through your own experience of what you see, who he is to you at that moment. Here comes the point of connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You want to see Hashem? This is how you see him. And this is Einav, his eyes, that see, that is Hashgacha, Keyonim, are like the dove, that look after their beloved one, that never let go of their beloved one. Al afi kemaim, and you know how they look at their beloved one? Through the reflection of the water. So the two birds that love each other, and you see how do they appreciate each other's love? Through the reflection of the water, through the mirror. Says the Malbim, this is exactly how HaKadosh Baruch Hu interacts with us. And he brings a proof. What's the proof of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of what he's saying? It's the keshet. The keshet is the rainbow. The rainbow. He says, Chachamim tell us that if you look at the rainbow, the beauty of the rainbow, you see the beauty of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How is that? How is that possible? So he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends his light. Okay, what is the rainbow? The rainbow is, again, the absorption of light and rejection of light in the air, which creates different colors. So he says, the Chachamim tell us the same way the rainbow is a reflection of the sun in creation in the air. The same way your reality is a reflection of the sun of the world, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Again, repeat.
The same way the rainbow is a reflection of the sun in the air, right? When you see the rainbow, what do you see? The rainbow is a proof that the sun is shining. Okay? It's a proof that you have sun rays in the air. Correct? Excellent. So he says the same way, when you look at nature, when you look at life, it's a reflection of the son of creation, in quote, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So you see what you see in life, okay, is compared to the rainbow, and the source of it for the rainbow is the sun, okay, but in life it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Good.
And
Okay.
just the rainbow, it has the proof is a message terrible message for us.
Oh no, that's but no, time out. Hashem chose the rainbow as a reminder of his vow not to destroy the world. Okay.
But in that moment, he should have destroyed the world.
Should have. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's feeling. Right now, we're talking about the system. And then inside that system, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will infuse feelings. The system as it is, right, shows us the process. So when you, and by the way, this is why, Al Pi HaKabbalah, okay, the colors that you look at impact your existence, it impacts your personality. Okay, if you look at green, Why? It has a. I'm sorry.
Why?
Because the color, again, each color is a reflection of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's midah. For example, the red is midat adin, right? The white is midat chesed. The green is atiferet. You understand? So those colors have an impact, which, by the way, is the reason why Chachamim chose black. Why did they choose black? Because black is all about absorbing the light and retaining it inside. It's all about tzniut. There's a reason for everything. You understand? So it's like that. Okay.
Wow.
So this is again. Okay. So this is.
But why not white? Why not white? Why wouldn't they choose white?
You know why we do Shabbat? Shabbat, when it's all about transparency, it's all about purity. You're right. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Pesach, Shabbat, it's all white. Emet. Good. Okay. Now, he takes it to a higher level, and he says, if you understand nature, you will understand the structure, the spiritual structure of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's creation, which is the root of the Chokhmah of Shlomo HaMelech, when Shlomo HaMelech knew how the whole creation works. It's because he understood how you have a whole entire spiritual system of sfirot in a tree, or in a root, in a flower, in an animal. He was able, through each creation, to see the constellation of Hashem's world. Rohatzot b'halav. He says something also very deep. He says the birds, they as if they bath in milk, right? So what does that mean? Now we're talking about the eyes. Einav, right? He says, until you see something, it's tohu. Tohu. Tohu is what? Confusion. You have thoughts, you have ideas, yeah? But until the first crystallization of order and systematic concept is through the sight. Your eyes, by definition, organizes and limit each thing, each color, each shape, space, right? It's the first revelation of limitations. The eyes. And this is why the eyes trigger what is called Ayin Hara. What is Ayin Hara? Is the limitations a person rejects by someone else or by himself and awakes a negative feeling. But how does that start? Or Ayin Tzara, or Hezek Re'iyah, that we find in Masechet Baba Batra, is the outcome of the definition of the eye. The eye limits. There are delimitations. You know, I'll give you I don't know if I told you this story, but you know, when I was little, my grandfather was Tzadiku Kadosh Livracha. He had the store where my father and my uncles used to work. He had his office upstairs. I think I told you. And he would learn upstairs. He had his chavruta upstairs, and he would come down for chashuv, clients that would come and only if they bought from a certain amount up, he would come down. No. So, anyways, at the end of the week, they would come. Like at the time, you didn't have credit cards. Yeah, people used to pay in cash. I'm talking about the early 80s. I remember I was a little kid, mamash 5-6 years old, and we would go to my grandfather. We used to live across, the corridor from my grandfather in Paris, and they would come back with like bags of, garbage bags of cash, and empty the cash in the salon. And all the grandchildren were like three of us. We had to reorganize the packets, okay, of 150s, 500, whatever it is, okay. And we had those rubber, like a rubber collar band for each stuff, okay. And my grandfather would forbid anyone from counting. He said, "You put them together, we don't know how much there is. We only count after Shabbat." He said, why? He wanted the beracha of Shabbat in the money. He said, if I count before Shabbat, maybe there's 100. But if I count after Shabbat, maybe there's 200. I don't know. So I want the beracha of Shabbat before I count. And if I have 100, I know that it's more than what there was on Friday. That was his emunah. His definition of counting was a limitation of the beracha. So all the efforts of the week came about, but he would never quantify it before there is the beracha of Shabbat. Once there's the beracha of Shabbat, you can quantify it, not before. says Shlomo HaMelech, Roch Yesod B'Chalav, he says the eyes purifies Kivyachol, like the bath in the milk. He said, how does the milk is created? It's rotten blood. It's blood that goes through a transformation that becomes milk. Right? He says the same thing is happening. We start from a tohu, we start from confusion, and our eyes start dictating and creating limitation and reorganizing space, creating interest, focus, because that's why do kids love the color red? Every kid is attracted to the red. Why? Girls are attracted to pink, boys are attracted to blue, without forcing them, naturally, yeah. It's because the eye, by definition, okay, goes after the things that are more appealing, that are more attracting to the essence.
What does blue represent?
That's very good. So the blue, okay. So okay, we talk about the techelet, okay, the techelet. The blue represents the chesed, okay, which is it's different than the white, okay. The white is more the chokhmah, right? The blue is the midat chesed, but the source of the chesed is what is the chokhmah. I don't know if you you have to get to the in the structure. So the chesed, the techelet is yes.
And Bina?
I'm sorry.
Bina, which color is it?
So the bina is going back to the red. Is going back to the red. Okay.
Din.
Which is din. Okay. Don't ask me all the colors. I don't know all the colors. Okay. We go maroon and beige, and he's going to ask me the pink of the shirt, of the tie. I don't know. Okay. But the green is tiferet. The green is the tiferet. Okay.
Wait. Green is what?
Tiferet.
Which is what's the definition of tiferet?
Tiferet is like glory. Glory. It's
that,
the harmony between chesed and din.
Tell that to Patek Philippe.
Okay. Tom.
I'm sorry.
Let's stay serious, please. Okay. So again, Rochatzot Bechalav is this transition from the tohu, from the confusion, to the crystallization of structure and organization. Yoshvot al millet. He says, when you understand, when you get to that place of the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of the Ashgacha, when you get to that level of Ashgacha and you understand the Ashgacha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shvot al millet, they sit on the brimming pool. Millet come from the word maleh, complete. Like we say, Vayar Hashem, okay? Vehine tov meod. Vayar Elokim et kol asher asa, vehine tov meod. He saw and he was complete. So a person that wants to understand the Ashgacha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his Ashgacha Pratit, and feel that the Ashgacha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is complete, is perfect, he needs to get to a level where he understands that the limitations are an organizational system HaKadosh Baruch Hu put in place in order to understand the Tohu. Good?
Good.
Reorganization of the site. When a person understands that Hashem puts in this world a system, a physical system, and understands that system, okay, is an organizational tool to what is called the tohu, a person realizes and understands that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's behavior and hashgacha in the world, his interaction on a global and individual level is complete and perfect. Which is true simcha, which is the highest level of beracha, which is peace, right? This is what we all want to get to. So the more you realize that there's a system, and that system is a reflection, an organizational tool, is a reflection of, right? Organized reflection of the tohu, right? It's the tikkun version of the tohu. The tikkun version of the tohu. The tohu is confused. When things are confused, you don't know what to fix. It's only once you reorganize everything that you know what to fix. It's after, if you don't have an accountant, you don't know what you need to fix in your business. It's only once you have an accountant, it reorganizes all your accounts and comes to you and says, listen, this is the gains, these are the loss, this is where you make money, this is where you lose money. That's how you can fix your business. So this system that's put in place is for us to find what is our tikkun and what is our place in the world, in a system that's reflecting the toes, which is, if you will, the place we already don't have logical understanding in HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
But we need to make tikkun of the confusion. We have to order.
The confusion the tohu originally is the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu for us to exist with a purpose. The sight, the eyes, is the reorganization in a scenery, right? It's a setup, okay, for you to understand and be able to interact in it and play your part for a purpose that we don't understand is ultimately. What's our purpose? To serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will. What is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will? We don't know. That's the Torah. But he put us in a system that's very well organized for us to do our tikkun. This is emunah. This is hashgacha pratit. Is that every inch, every sound of wave, everything that's put around you is for a specific purpose. This is your Shavot al Millet.
Wow.
Yud Gimel. Yud Gimel. We're going to try one more pasuk, if you want. Huh?
I'm okay.
Continue. Lehayav ka'arugat habosem. His cheeks are like arugot, are like beds of spices, bundles of spices. Ka'arugat habosem, migdelot merkachim, banks of perfume, siftotav shoshanim, and his lips are like the lily. Not fought more over, flowing myrrh, with dripping myrrh. Good. This is says the Malbim the lehayim. If you recall in the Gaon, he says the lehayim. They're called chayim. Why? Because this is when the dibur starts, right? The dibur. This is the place where the speech starts forming itself, right? The mouth moves with the lehayim, right? So he says, it's now not only being in a reorganized ecosystem, but it's also being able to send a clear message within that ecosystem. Good. You can be in a system but not know how to maneuver in it. This is, if you will, the direction to understand how to maneuver in that ecosystem, organized ecosystem, in the world of the eyes.
Rob, one question. How can it be that Shlomo Melech speaks about Hashem and speaks his eyes, his cheeks?
No, it's for us to understand, right? We're not, how can a person relate to something he has no idea of?
Mashal.
Mashal,
okay.
right?
Okay.
Yad Hashem. The Torah says Yad Hashem, the hand. Etzba Elokim, the finger of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right?
Okay. Masha, perfect.
Okay. Amar vayehi utziva vayamod. He says it should be, and it stood up, right? So says the Malbim, there are two types of dibur. There is a dibur which is like the word Bereshit. It's one word, but that includes everything in it. It's the type of word where we say Dabir Miza, where you say one word and the person has to understand everything that it means. That's one type of dibur. This is called dibur pnimi. This is called the internal, the hidden speech. And then you have dibur hitzoni, and then you have the outer speech, which is a more eloquent, more explained version of that word, of that dibur penimi. So he says, lehayav ka'arugat abosem. He says, lehayav is dibur penimi. The word that is hidden in creation is like the bed of spices. He says a bed, okay, is 6 tfachot. Shishat tfachim is 6 tefachim. Okay, why did Shlomo Amer choose a bed of spice? Because it's 6 tefach, and that represents the 6 days of Maaseh Bereshit. When Hashem said Bereshit bara Elokim, in the word Bereshit, He had in it already the entire creation. It's like you take a seed, and you throw all of them at once. But slowly, each one will grow on its own, right? So he says, this is the bed of spice. In the first word, meaning if you get to the concentration version, if you get to the concentration version, the concentrated version of the Dvar Hashem, you can reveal tremendous different things. Okay? And he says this is also he says it represents the 6 kivunim of the creation. Okay, what he wants to say by that.
What's kivunim? I'm sorry.
You have 6 direction in space, right? Front, back, right, left, up, down. Okay, so he says if you want to understand your makom. Now, why is there space? There's only space for you to find your place in space. You can only find your makom, your true space, your true place in creation, if you are able to relate to the Torah, to the Dvar Hashem, as something that is hiding and holding on to much more than what is being spelled out. Meaning, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks to us through the creation, every situation has its instinctive and obvious message. Like a letter Aleph, you're going to read it as Aleph. But if you understand that Aleph, that situation has a different dimension to it, has now six facets, 6 directions within it, then you're going to start understanding that the Aleph is really 2 Yud, and there's a Vav, and there's Yud Ke Vav Ke, and there's Rakia, and there's the Rakia, which is the Vav, and then there is the word the Elyon, word Atachon. That's what you have an upper Yud and a lower Yud, right? And you understand what I'm saying? The moment, basically, what the Malbim, what Shlomo Melech is teaching us is that if you're able to transcend the mundane message that any individual would understand from a situation, and actually analyze it from a deeper perspective, from a more meaningful perspective, you open yourself to an outlook of life that allows you to understand the ecosystem you're in, the space that you're in, and it will help you find your place in that ecosystem. So the more you understand the message on a deeper level, the more you understand where you need to be. And it's quite logical, right? If you have a map and you read it without understanding it, you might get to your destination or you might get lost. But if you understand the clues, like, I don't know, how do they call this, these game rooms, The clue room. Huh? You're in a clue room. Huh? What?
Escape rooms.
Tape rooms?
Escape rooms.
Escape room. Escape room. You're in an escape room, right? This world is an escape room. You need to understand the situation the same way. It's clues. So, or you read it properly and you see what everybody sees and you get stuck in that room and you're not going to get anywhere. Or you start diving into it and finding your way to the place you need to be, which is your makom. So a person that wants to know where does he belong, he needs to start revealing properly and understanding how to read the map in a deeper level. Expose himself to different dimensions.
That's good for a book. This world is an escape room.
Yes.
How to get out.
So that's the dibur. Yeah, that's the dibur apnimi. Migdalot merkachim. He says, the dibur of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is like the migdalot merkachim, right? The smell, right? The bank, the banks of the smells, of the perfume. Okay, he says a perfume. What makes a perfume a perfume? The bank of perfume, you have a perfume. It has different smells, right? But when you're inside a perfume store, it's very hard to identify different smells because you smell so many different beautiful smells, right? So you cannot differentiate the smells if you're in a perfume store. So he says this is the dibur of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you take the dibur of Hashem and you don't organize it properly, you're not going to get the message because there's so many flavors, there's so many directions, there's so many incentivization or whatever you say it, okay? Pulls, directions, yeah. It's like you're in a room with 1,000 perfumes. Siftotav shoshanim. However, when you start unveiling, organizing, explaining, diving into details, siftotav, which are the lips, then you find the lili. Then you find the smell of the lili inside that room of perfume. Not fort more over. Says this is the beginning. Once you have organized, understood, and pinpointed the smell, pinpointed the direction, this is the beginning of your life as an Eved Hashem. Now you start serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu because you have identified a direction. So if you want to know how to live as an Eved Hashem and serve HaKadosh, your purpose that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put you in this world for, you need to be able to understand the clues of creation, understand the ecosystem that was put in place with those limitations, which is in order for you to be able to serve the purpose of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that for you is a tohu, because you'll never understand why Hashem put you in place, why Hashem put you in this during this generation, in this place, the way I look with the family, that nobody knows. Yeah. That's the tohu. But he put those limitations in place. He created a mold for each and every one of us. Different families, different eras, different ages, different looks, different sizes, different networks, different friends, different neighborhoods, different. He put them all, yeah? That's the eyes. Now, once you start understanding and breaking the limitations and understanding that in every situation you have a tri-dimensional message, then you're exposed, you're in a room that by opening that space, it puts you in a room with many, many directions, right? Like in a room with 1,000 smells. So you have to be able to identify clearly the lili, the smell, the direction HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to take from that message. Boom, you take advantage of this. You go towards that direction. You are alive in the eyes of Hashem. This is called Hayim. I would gladly continue, but maybe it's too heavy and you have to go.
Wow.
So we finished Baruch Hashem, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Okay?
Beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Thank you, Rav.
Tov.
Nice to be again
you.
on the road, eh? Thank you.
Tovot.
Bye.
Kol Tov.